Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be continuing with the challenges from Dev Challenges IO, and we are going to be doing the responsive web developer, and the challenge is interior consultant. So I have this opened up in the Figma link. So we have this as the desktop design, and this is the mobile design, and then this is the mobile navbar when it is open. So it is a fairly simple design, but it looks pretty nice, and we are going to be building this out in HTML and CSS. So what you can do is you can click on this card and you can say, where is it? You can download the starter files using this download button here, and then once you download it, then it should download into this zip file that you have here, which when you extract is going to extract into this folder. So I'm going to right click on this folder, and then I'm going to say open with code, which is going to open up an instance of Visual Studio Code into this folder, and then we can continue. Now we can see that right inside here we have photo 1, which is obviously the hero image, and then photo 2 is the profile image that we have here. And then I think the readme is going to give us a bit more information, I hope so. And then we have the index.html file, which is going to be our entry file, and then this is the favicon, which we are going to be using as well. So if we take a look at the index.html file, you are going to see that we are going to have some pre-rendered template which we are going to clear. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to go inside the body, so beginning from this div with the class of welcome all the way to the bottom, we're going to remove all that, and then we're also going to remove the style tags inside here. So remove that, and then for the title I'm just going to add a straight line here, and I'm going to say interior consultant, and then we are going to remove this. We don't need this font, we're not going to be using it. And then we can remove these are the favicon, so this can remain. This is not the favicon really, but it can remain. This is the favicon, we want it to remain. And yeah, so let's go ahead and save that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create an index.css file, which is going to be our CSS. So below this, just link the index.css file. There we go. Let's remove these extra spaces. And my mouse is having issues. Okay. Now, once we have that, then let's take a look. We want to create a header, which is going to have this logo and then the text, or rather the links. And then on mobile, we only have the logo and then this hamburger menu. So let's begin right away. We are going to go inside here. We're going to create a class. We're going to create an element called header with a class of header. And then inside here, we're going to have a div, which is going to be having a class of logo, not log, but logo. And then inside here, we're going to have an anchor tag, which is going to be linking to the index.html, meaning the homepage, so that when you click on this, it takes you back to the homepage, and it says this interior, if I can spell it correctly. And then below this, we're going to have a navbar, and this nav is going to have how many list items? 4 of them. So 4 list items, which are going to be anchor tags. And then because they're not linking to any other page in our website, then I'm just going to have hashtags inside here, meaning they're not linking to any other page. And then this one says home, and then this one says collection, collection, and then this says about and contact. So about and contact. And then below this navbar, we need this to appear on mobile, so I also want to add it in. So I'm going to create a div inside here, and then this div, let me not have it as a div, let me just have it as a button with a class of menu, or menu-btn to be more specific. And then inside here, we're going to have an image, which is going to be it doesn't have the button, it doesn't have the icon for the button. So let me do this. We are going to create it. We're going to create this menu button using CSS. So I'm going to say create a list item and another list, with 3 list items, and that is going to be it. Rather, let me give it a class of menu-btn to be just a bit more specific. Now, once we have that, Then what we need to do is below this header, we want to create our section. So this section, I'm going to give it a class of hero. And this section is going to be structured as follows. We are going to have one div, which is going to have this text, and then another div, which is going to have this image as well as this article on the bottom. So we're going to have two divs. So the first div is going to be this one that says h1, that says modern interior. And then below this h1, I'm going to have some paragraphs. So let me just copy this. So I can't actually copy this. So let me just type it out. So a full service residential and commercial interior design and staging company, and commercial interior design staging company, offering professional organizing and eco services. Offering, oh my god, I can't type. Professional organizing and eco services, full stop. And then below this paragraph, we're going to have a button that says read more. And then for this arrow, we're just going to use an HTML entity that is called ampersand. This is a right arrow, so RARR and then semicolon, which is going to create this arrow. And I've seen a description here. Let me see, can I find it? It didn't appear, but I think I can cut it out and just place it here on the video. Now for this section, once we've created this first div, we're going to create another div, which is going to be the image. So this image comes from / should be photo1. And then this for the alt attribute, in case the image fails to load, I'm just going to say modern interior. And then below this image, we're going to have an article. Now this article is going to be this one. You can use a div, but I want to use an article. So we're going to have, let's see how is this structured. So article, let me now use a div inside here. And for this one, let me give this a class of, let me say, author. Let me just call it author. Or rather than author, let me call it profile. I think profile is a bit more descriptive. And then we're going to say this. So inside this div, we're going to have, let me say, the image and then this text. So image coming from photo2. And then below this image, we're going to have a UL with two list items. And the first one is going to say the name, so Eliza Weber. And then this says interior designer. And then below this div, we're going to have this text, which is an H2 that says designed in 2020 by Eliza Weber. And then we're going to save that. Now, once we save that, then I'm not going to add this in. I'm not going to add that in. Now, once we have that, then we should be able to save it. And then I'm going to be using an extension that is called Live Server, which is going to help me to open up a local development server on localhost 5500. You can use it if you want, you don't have to use it. So I'm going to right click and say open with Live Server, and then I'm going to wait for that to open up, and then we can continue. Okay, so there we go. So it opens up. You can see that it looks quite ugly. Now let's begin to style this out. Let me take this to the right and then this to the left. And then inside our CSS, we want to begin by resetting some of the styles. So I'm going to say, using my universal selector, reset the margin to 0. And when I save it, you can see that it shrinks down just a bit. And then reset the padding to 0. And then reset the box sizing to border box. And then below this, we're going to give the body a background color of hashtag. Let me just go ahead and get it. It should have this background color. So let me get it. If I can remember how to use Figma. Come on. I don't want to try dev mode. Really? Close. Can I can I really not just get this color? I just want this color. There we go. Okay, copy that color. There we go. And then remove this. And then for the text, we're going to set the text to white. So FFFF or FFF if you want. And then now when I say that, then we're going to have this on the screen. Now let's continue. The font, what font does it use? What font is this? Does it say? It says it's called Laura, and this is Montserrat. So let's go into fonts.google.com. Let's get a font that is called Laura. So Laura, really? Laura, there we go. This is going to be the text for the headings. So we want what? We want a bold font for the heading. So let's say semi-bold 600. And then I have an interfont somewhere here. No, dismiss. Let's remove this one. Remove all. We want Laura and then we want Montserrat. So for Montserrat, because it's the text, then we're just going to use the regular 400, this one. And then let's import it. So import and copy that and then paste it inside our CSS right on top. And then let's set everything to have a font family of Montserrat. Should be in quotes. So Montserrat with a fallback of sans serif. Much better. And then allow state. Let's take a look, and we should have that looking amazing. Now we want the headings to take a different font family. So let's specify that for the H1 and the H2, because we only have an H1 and an H2. Let's say that the font family is going to be, it's called Laura with a fallback of sans serif, and it should do that. That's looking much better. Now let's style out all of this. Let's go ahead and say that for the anchor tags, we want the text decoration to none, and then we want the color to be white so that it changes that much better. And then we want the buttons. Do we have buttons? I think I'll style that when we get to the buttons. But what I want to do is I need the images to take up 100% of the container in which they are placed. So I'm going to set the max width to 100% so that it doesn't overflow as it was doing. You can see that now it kind of shrinks down to fit inside the width of the container. But if I removed this, then it would cause an overflow. As you can see, that is not what we want. Now once we have that, then let's begin to style this out for mobile. Now let's see this. Let's go inside the class of header, and then inside the class of logo, and then inside the class of logo we have an anchor tag. What I want to do here is I want to say text transform to uppercase, and then I want to go ahead and say what? Save that first of all. Let's have a border of 1 pixel solid and white. So solid and white all round. Let's give it a padding of about what, 4 pixels all round. There we go. And then above this, let's go inside the header, and then let me move this upwards. So inside the header, let's say display flex, and then align item center and justify content to space between. There we go. And then I don't want these bulleted lists. So right above this, I'm going to say that for the ULs, then the list style type should be none, which is going to remove the bullets. And then what I want to do is on the header, I want to add a padding so that it pushes everything inwards. So I'm going to say a padding of about 10 pixels. 10 pixels. No, let's say a padding of 24 pixels on the top and bottom, and 10 pixels on the left and right. So reload, there we go. Now what I want to do is I don't want this to appear on mobile. So let me just check. This is inside the nav. So I'm going to say this. We'll say that for the header nav, then I want the opacity for this to be 0, which is going to make it disappear, but it still kind of takes up the space that it originally takes up. I don't want that to happen. So the way we fix that is by taking it out of the flow of the body by setting the position to absolute. And you can see that now it doesn't take up anything, and it has an opacity of 0, which means it doesn't even appear here. Okay, now once we have that, then let's add our hamburger menu. Remember, our hamburger menu is this one, which has 3 list items. So let's go inside the header, so dot header and dot menu -btn, and then inside here I'm going to say that I want to access the list items, and the list items are going to have a width of 20 pixels, a height of 3 pixels, and a background color of white. And we should be able to see 3 of them right there. This is a bit too small, so let's increase the width to about 28. Yeah, and then the width to about 5 maybe. I think that's much better. And then now I want to separate them out, and what I can do is I can just set a margin bottom here of, let me say, about 3 pixels, and you can see that it kind of separates out, and you can see that 5 pixels is a bit too thick, so let's just use 3 like we did originally, and then increase this to about 6, and we can have that as our menu button. And then what we can do is we can go ahead inside the parent, which is the menu btn, and then we can set the cursor to pointer, and that will have the effect that when we hover over it, then it changes into a cursor of pointer, which means we can click on it. Now once we have that, then let's go ahead and style out this h1. Let me see, how does it look? Let's close that. So it looks like this on mobile. Okay, so let's go ahead, let's close that. Let's go ahead and begin to style this out. What is this class? It's called hero. So for the class of hero, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say give it a padding all round of let's say 24 pixels on the top and bottom, 10 pixels on the left and right. That will do it. And then let's go inside the hero h1. Let's give it a font size of 28 pixels, make it bigger. Give it a margin bottom of 1.25 rem to push away from the paragraph. And then let's go inside the hero paragraph, give it a margin bottom of 2 rem to push away from the button. And then let's give it a line height of, let's say, 1.8, just to increase its readability. I know it's not the same as this one, but this is a bit hard to read for me, so I'm going to increase the line height to 1.8, and then I'm going to give it a max width of, let's say, about 250 pixels, so that doesn't go there to the end, just like here. And I think that is a bit too small, so let's say 300, maybe 300 pixels, or maybe 350. Let's use 350. And I've just realized that this is a bit bigger. That's a bit bigger, so increase this to 36 pixels. That's better. And then let's go inside the hero button, which is this one, and we're going to give it a background color, or sorry, a background of transparent, so that it does that. We're going to give it a color of white, and let me see, we're going to give it an outline of none and a border of none. And then the font weight is going to be bold. There we go. And then we want to change the font size to 16 pixels, because by default buttons are smaller in size. And then I'm going to say this, I'm going to say display as an inline block, so that I can go below this and give it a margin on the bottom of about 2 rem to push away from this image. And actually not that's a bad way to do it, because the text and the image are 2 divs. So I can just go inside the parent, which is the section. So let me remove this and this. So I can go inside the parent, which is the section, which is this hero, and then I can say display flex, right, which is going to place it in raw form by default, but I can change the flex direction to column, and then move this upwards and that downwards. And then now I can give it a gap of 2 rem so that it separates it out, instead of having a margin bottom on the button. I think this is a much better way. And let's actually make this bigger by changing it to 3 rem. There we go. Much better. And then this image doesn't need any work really, because that's just how it appears. But now we can deal with this article, which is inside here, inside the div. So hero, div, and then the article that has a class of profile. So we're going to say that for the dot hero, div, and then the article that has a class of profile. So, and then we're going to give it a background color of the same one that we have on the body, this one. And then nothing really happens, but we're going to see its effect in a few moments. Let me see how does it look. So we want this first div. I think it was a div, right? Yes, it was this div. So the div that has the image as well as this text. So let's go ahead and see this. Let me copy this and let me remove this, paste it downwards. Really, I didn't copy it. Copy, paste it here. And then I want to go inside this div. And then inside this div, I'm going to say the following display flex, which is going to bring the text here, as you can see. And then align it up center and justify content to the center. Sorry, not to the center, but to the flex start. That is not to the center, but it is to the start of the article. And then for the article, I actually want to limit it by giving it a max width of, let me say, I can use percentages, right? Let me not use percentages. Let me use viewport width. So 80 viewport widths. And obviously you're not going to see the effect just yet, but if I change this to about 20, then you can see what happens. So it's only 20 viewport widths of the entire viewport widths, meaning if I increase this to a larger viewport, if I can get this, there you go. So if I increase this, then the viewport it also increases, as you can see. Now let's shrink this back, and then let's go ahead and change this back to 80 viewport widths. And the reason I've chosen 80 is because this doesn't go all the way to the end. As you can see, there's kind of just a bit of space here, right? It's like it's just a bit offset. It's leaning to the right. Now let's go ahead and do this. We are going to say this is flex start. Now we need to get this image to make it circular. So inside here, copy this. Let's access the image. Let's give the image a width of about 60 pixels and a height of about 60 pixels to reduce it. And then let's give it a border radius of 50% to make it rounded. And then inside here, let's give this a gap of about 2 rem to push away from this text. That's too big. Let's say 1 rem. Okay. And then I've just realized that the article doesn't have any padding. So here below this, let's give it a padding of about let's say 1.25 rem, which is 20 pixels, so that now the article has a bit of padding. And then let's go ahead and insert this first one. Let me see how is this styled. Yeah, this is just a bit bolder, not really bold, but it's lighter than this other text and also bigger in size. So let me copy this, and we're going to do this. We want to go inside the UL and then inside the list item, which is the first child. And for this one, just to test it out, let me say font size, let me say 48 pixels, just to test out whether I'm doing the correct thing. Yes, there we go. So now we don't want that font size of 48 pixels. What we want to do is we want to go inside the last child and then give it a color of hashtag white FFFFFF, but with a slight opacity. So let me say 75. And there you go. So it is a slightly opaque. And then I want to reduce the font size to 14 pixels, make it just a bit smaller. And then what I want to do is I want to add a margin on the top of this of about 0.2 rem, just to separate it out just a bit. That's looking much better. And then now I want to go ahead and access this H2, which is inside, let me see. So the article profile and then the H2. So I just need to copy up to this, copy this. And then I can say that for the H2, I'm going to give it a margin on the top of, let's say 1 rem, or let me say 1.25 rem. And we're going to have that. Now what we need to do is we need this article to move upwards. So I'm going to go back into the hero article here, and then I'm going to give it a margin on the top of minus 2 rem, and we're going to have that, and it's kind of below, like it's as though it's passing below the image, but it's still on top of the image. So what we do to fix that is we give it a z-index of about 10, but you'll notice that nothing changes there because z-index doesn't work unless an element is positioned. So I'm going to say position this as relative, which is going to position it as relative, and now you can see the div and you can see the 80 viewport width right around there. Now 2 rem is a bit too small, so let me say 3 rem. There we go. And then now I want this to move to the other side. So the way you do that is, because we have given this a max width here, I can give it a margin here. Let me go below this. Let me say margin dash left and set it to auto, which is going to push it to the right. Looking nice, right? Now I also want a margin on the right, because look at this. Look at how this is structured. See how it doesn't go to the end like ours does? Ours goes to the end. So let me try and say margin dash right, not tight, but right, of about 2 rem. And it's almost there. Let me say 1 rem. Yeah, that's much better. Now, it's not recommended to write all this, so let's simplify it. So I'm going to say margin of minus 3 rem on the top. We want 1 rem on the right, 0 on the bottom, and auto on the left. And that is how you simplify this. So let's remove that, and that has the same effect. Looking fantastic. And you can see that this is how it looks on mobile, but on desktop we just need to change a few things. So let's begin to scale it up right at around medium screens, right around there. And we're going to do the following. We're going to add a media query, and I'm going to say add media for a min width of, let me use like what, 820 pixels, which is the iPad Air, I think. And we're going to say this. We're going to say that for the hero, we want this to display as a grid with grid template columns to repeat twice and 1 fractional column each, which is going to place them side by side like so. And then we want this to move downwards. So I'm going to say align item center, which is going to move this downwards. Looking nice, looking nice. How does this look on large screens, by the way? Okay, it goes like almost all the way to the end, but that's okay. That's okay. Now this takes up more space than this. Now let me show you what we're going to do, because we need this to come wrapped around somewhere here. So what we're going to do is we're going to display this as 3 grids. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we want this part to take up the grid from here up to here. Now the way we do that is we go inside the dot hero, and then we want to access the second div, which is this one, which has the image. So we're going to say for the hero, we want the div which is the nth child of 2, or the last child if you want. And then we're going to say grid column, and then we want to say we want it to begin from the second one up to the third one. Is that correct? Is that how you do it? Is this how you do it? I might be doing my own things. Grid column. Let me Google grid column CSS. What happens? Loading this one. Let's see. So grid column 1 3 grid column. Okay. So I say grid column start from 1 to the third one. Is that correct? Okay. So this one should say is 2 to the fourth one. There we go. Okay. So to the fourth one instead of 2 and the third one. And then we need to limit this, because remember that this still takes up 80 viewport widths. Remember? So we need to change this up a bit. Now let's increase the size of this H1. And I don't like the way this goes all the way to the end. It's bothering me. So let's limit it slowly. Let's give it a max width of 1200 pixels. Limit it massively, and then give it a margin of auto so that it brings us back to the center. And then let's increase the size of this h1. So the h1 is hero h1. Give it a font size of 64 pixels. Okay. Let's increase this to 1300. Let's say 1400, because I wanted this to come here, but let's just reduce this as well. 56. Not yet. 48. Okay, 48 brings it there. And then what we can do is we just need to limit this article. So let's see, where did we place it? We placed it on the profile, this one, the max width. So we're going to copy this, and then we're going to go to the bottom right here, and then now we're going to give it a max width. Now instead of viewport width, we're going to use pixels, because pixels don't increase depending on the size of the device that you're using. So I'm going to increase this to about 400 pixels, and that limits it. You can see it limits it to right there, and it still remains here because the styles that we have here still apply on top. Remember the one of margin, which brings it here, it still applies. And would you look at that, now we just need to limit this header as well. So let's go ahead and say, let me see, where did you limit it? This one. Let's copy this, let's go into the header, and then let's paste it here. Oops, paste it there, so that it now limits the header as well. Now what we need to do is we just need to make the hamburger menu functional on mobile. So let's go ahead and do that, and the way we do that is by doing the following. Remember how we positioned it as absolute and then with an opacity of 0? Now what we want to do is we want to say that when the header and the navbar has a class of open, we are creating a custom class, then we want to position this, so the position is still remain absolute, but we want the opacity to now be 1. And just by doing that, if I go back into our HTML and into our navbar, if I give the navbar a class of open, then we should see the text appearing here. Okay, and then now what we want to do is, because it looks a certain kind of way when the navbar is open right here, it shows this, and then this takes up the entire screen. So the way we do that is by doing the following. We are going to go ahead and we're going to say that bring it to the top by 0, because it's positioned absolute already here. So bring it to the top 0, and left 0, and right 0, and bottom 0, and then give it a background color of the dark color that we had, and then that takes up the entire screen. And then this appears, remember this appears because this is positioned relative and it has a z-index of 10. So what we need to do is, because this is also positioned, then we just need to give it a higher z-index, higher than 10. So if I say 11, then this comes on top of everything. Now the reason why this appears on the bottom is because it is what's the term, like it's already out of our viewport, you know, it's more than 100 viewport heights of the device. So what you can do in order to fix that so that you don't see this is we can change this to fixed, so that the navbar scrolls with us, so that now we can scroll the navbar and it doesn't show anything foreign. Now we just need this to come to the middle, and the way we do that is by going inside the header nav, and then for the, let me say that when it has a class of open, I want to get the UL, and then the UL is also going to be positioned absolute. Absolute, okay, absolute, which doesn't break it. There we go. And then we want to bring it to the top by 50%, which is going to bring it here, and then to the left by 50%, which is going to bring it to the middle. And then it's not really the middle because it's kind of offset. So the way we fix that is by giving a transform property, and then we're going to say translate by minus 50% on the x-axis and minus 50% on the y-axis, which is now going to bring it perfectly to the center. And then let's copy this, and then let's say that for the list items inside here, we want the margin bottom to be 2 rem to separate each of them out. much better. And then probably we can also say text align center. I think that's much better. And then let's say font weight bold, much better once it reloads. There we go. Fantastic. Now we just need to go ahead and display our cross icon here. Now our menu button is this one right here. So what we're going to do is we want this to be positioned as relative, so that I can give it a z index of 12, that it now appears here. Right now we are going to do the following. We are going to go ahead and say, sorry, not say, but we are going to go ahead and do something here. We're going to copy this, and below this we're going to say that when the menu button has a class of clicked, so when you click on it, then we want to go inside the list items, and then we want to go ahead and say we want this second one to disappear, and then we want this one and this one to display as a cross. So let me say that for the nth child 2, then we want the opacity to be 0. Okay, now let's go ahead and add the class of clicked here so that you can see it in action. There we go. So you can see that now it disappears, right? And then I don't want it to disappear just like that. So let's add a transition and transition all the elements by 0.2 seconds, and then let's say is in out, so that it kind of fades out instead of just disappearing once. And then what we want to do is we want to do something similar here, and then we're going to say that this is going to be for the first child. Now the first child is going to be this first list item, and for this one we want it to rotate. We want it to wait. Rotate does exist. Rotate is a property. So let's say 45 degrees. So not 24, 45. 45 degrees. There we go. And then we want to do this for the third item, for the nth child 3, or the last child, because we know there are only 3 items. Now this one should rotate minus 45 degrees. Okay, that's looking okay. And then now what we need to do is this needs to move upwards. So I'm going to say give it a margin on the top of -1 rem. How much is that? Almost. So instead of rem, because rem is not that precise, so let me say about 17 pixels. Sorry, minus 17 pixels. Let's say 18 pixels. Okay, 17.5. Yeah, 17.5 does look okay. And then now we're going to have that. Now let's go ahead and add in our JavaScript, because we need this to be toggleable. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to remove this class of clicked and this class of open, because by default we don't want any of that to be open. Now let's go ahead and create a new file inside here called index.js, and then inside here we want to get our navbar. So I'm going to say const navbar is equal to document.query selector, and we want to select the element that is called nav, because we only have one nav. And then we also want to get the button, so I'm going to say const menu button is equal to document.query selector, and it's called .menu-btn. And then what we want to do is that when we click on the menu button, then we add the class of open on the navbar, as well as the class of clicked on the menu button. So I'm going to say menu button dot add event listener, and we're listening for a click event. Then we want to pass in our anonymous function inside here, and then we're going to say navbar dot class list dot toggle. Now we're using toggle because we want that when you click on it, if it is open, it's closed, and then when you click on it, if it is closed, then it goes back to open. So we're going to be toggling the class of open, which we have created in our CSS. And then inside here we also want to say menu button dot class list dot toggle, and we want to toggle the class of clicked. And then let's save it, and then let's try it out. Oh, it won't work because we need to link our JavaScript. So let's just go to the bottom, and then below this let's link our script file inside here, and it's called index.js. Save it, and then let's try it again. There we go. Would you look at that? Now it does transition a bit too fast. I don't like it. So let me try and fix the transition. So let's go inside the nav. The nav is here. Let's say transition all the elements by 0.2 seconds, and then is in out. and then let's open it. There we go. That is looking much better. Fantastic. And now we just need to fix this on desktop screens because we don't want this to appear on desktop. So let's go ahead and fix that. So let's go inside here. We're going to go on top of this, and we're going to say that for the header and for the dot menu btn class, we want this to display as none, that it disappears. And then we want for the dot header, for the dot nav, sorry, for the nav element, we want this to display as a block, so that now it should appear. Oh wait, it wasn't display block because we positioned it absolute. So we want it to display, so we want it to position as relative. And you can see that it kind of comes back in because you can see that it jumped downwards, right? And then we're going to give it an opacity of 1 so that we can actually see where it is right there. And then we can begin to style it out. Now we are going to need to play around with the styles a bit here. So let me split this screen, and then this can go back to the top. And then what we need to do is we need to reset the styles for when the navbar doesn't have the class of open, and then for when the navbar has the class of open. So we're going to do this for the header nav. We've already reset this because that is this one right here. And then for the header nav of open, we need to do something. Let me see, what do we need to change? Opacity of 1 can remain. This one needs to we don't need the background color, so we're going to say for the header nav open, then the background color should be transparent. Okay, and just to show you what I mean is this, if I scale this upwards when the navbar is open like so, then what we're going to end up with is this. See how this is ugly looking, like it doesn't even make sense? So those are the styles that we are resetting for when the nav is open. So here we have already moved the background color. If I add it back in, then you're going to see the background color should return, but it doesn't for some reason. And then what we need to do is reset. We need to reset these styles. So let's go ahead and say that for the header nav.open for the UL, then we want this to position relative, and you want it to be on the top 0 and left 0. And then we're going to say transform and translate 0% and 0%. That should reset it properly. There we go. And then we have text align center somewhere. We have that one here. So we're going to just copy this, paste it here. And then we're going to say that text align should go to text align left. There we go. Text align left. And then we don't need the margin bottom because really we are going to be aligning them in raw form. So here we can set the margin bottom to 0, bottom 0. There we go. And then what else do we need? Nothing. But now what we can do is this. We can paste this here and we can set this to display flex so that now they should align in raw form. And then we're going to say give it a gap of 2 rem, which is going to separate them out. Fantastic. And then now what we can do is this is when the navbar is open. So if we were to happen to scale it up with the navbar open, then we're going to end up with that, which looks okay, right? And then when the navbar is not open and we scale it up, then we have that. So we still have an issue. So what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and not use the dot open class. And actually, you know what? We can just add this in here. So you can see that for the dot header and then for the nav, for the UL, and then place a comma, and that should fix it. There we go. That looks okay. Fantastic. Now I just realized that something. Look at this. When the navbar is open and we scale it up, then this is bold. But when the navbar is not open and we scale it up, then this is not bold. So let's just fix that by going inside. We already have this somewhere. We have it here. Yes, we have it here. So what we need to do is move this upwards, and then we need to change the font weight to normal. That should fix it, even when the navbar is open. Okay. Now. let's go ahead and do this. I just remember something. I remembered this. So let's do that as the final thing, and then we can submit our solution. Now, in order to do that, then we're going to create a new class called active. So right here, let's give this a class of active, meaning the active tab. And then what we're going to do is this. For the header nav, header nav UL. Let me do it. Header nav, open, header nav, open, header nav, open. Let me do it here. So header nav UL li anchor tag that has the class of open. So not open but active. Then we want the border bottom to be 2 pixels solid white, and that should do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give it a padding bottom of about 0.5 rem, and that should do that. And then font weight is going to be bold. There we go. So the one that has the class of active is going to behave like that, meaning if I remove this from here and I place it on another tab, then this gets the class of active. And then that's really how you can toggle the active links that you are on, but that requires a bit more of JavaScript, which you can do by yourself. Now let's just go ahead and do the same thing for mobile. For this one, oh, it actually takes up the style, so we don't need to do anything. Now let's go ahead and submit this solution. So let's go ahead and open up a grid. So not a grid, but GitHub. And then let's also open up Netlify. Not Tailwind. What am I doing today? So Netlify. So login. And then let's create a new repository here. And then let's create a new repository. And I'm going to call it dev challenges interior consultant. Let's create repository and then copy this link, and then let's go ahead and close all of this down. Let's open up our terminal using Control and J, and then inside here let's say git init, which is going to initialize an empty git repository, as you can see. And then I will say git add all and git commit -m, and I'm going to say initial commit, and then I'm going to say git remote add origin, and then paste in that link that we copied. Then git branch -m, capital M, and then main, which is going to push it to the main branch, and then git push -u origin main, which is going to push it to the upstream branch, which is the one that we have just created. So let's just wait a moment. And there we go. There we go. There we go. Now let's reload this, and we should be able to see our repository right there. Now, obviously, I did not change this because I forgot. But what we can do is we can now display, sorry, not display, but deploy this. So deploy an existing project from GitHub, and it is called, what's it called? Interior consultant. Interior. Let me just search for that. Come on, search sometime today. Are you even searching? Okay, there we go. So interior consultant. So this one, let's go ahead and deploy that. We don't need to fill any of things. So deploy dev challenges. And that should deploy in a few. So let's change the site name here. Let's say TsbSankara. Let's say dev challenge. Okay, that's going to be a long name. So interior consultant, and then save it. And then once that saved, it should have deployed already. Not yet. So, oh, wait a minute. Will that deploy? Wait a minute. I think we might have, Wait, it's still building. Wait, really? It's still building? I don't remember Netlify being so slow. Site has not yet been deployed. But this is saying deployed in 14 seconds. Am I reading this wrongly? Open production. Oh, okay, there we go. So there we go. So there we go. This is how our application looks like. Now let's go ahead and do this. I need to copy the clean link, and the repository is going to be here so that we can submit the solution. So let me close this, and let me say submit solution, and the title is going to be mobile first interior consultant. And then let me just add this as the description. The demo URL is this one, so copy and paste it here. The repository URL is this one, so copy and paste it here. And request for feedback, we don't need that, so let's say submit solution. There we go. Go to solution, and we're going to have that deployed successfully. So that is the third challenge complete, and in the next video we are going to be doing another challenge. So be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any updates, and it really helps the channel as well, because these videos do take quite a bit of time to create. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.